West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. À fleurs sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
I am the political prisoner of a failing nation, but I will soon be free.
He posted that video. That was something that he recorded of himself and then put on his social media. You're not even in prison right now. You're quite literally not a political prisoner. You were convicted on 34 separate felony counts at a trial, which concluded last week where a unanimous jury found you guilty. You are recording that outside of prison. Therefore, you're not a political prisoner. This is what Donald Trump's been doing. He makes these videos of himself and then he posts them. Like, take a look at this one right here. Is this his coping mechanism where he's taking these selfie videos and here he says there was no crime. This was just a respected bookkeeper. Okay, you could have testified. Here, play this clip.
My very honest and respected bookkeeper called a legal expense on the tiny description line of a ledger a legal expense. The only thing you could have called it. Openly paid to my lawyer, at the time a fully accredited one. So a legal expense was called a legal expense, not a construction expense or an expense for sheetrock or cinder block or an expense for what other people might want to call it. No, legal expense was legal expense. There was nothing wrong.
And then here Donald Trump talks about after sitting for 5 weeks in the trial and my supporters weren't allowed to show up. Quite literally, everything this individual says is an absolute lie. Here, play this clip.
After sitting for 5 weeks through that rigged trial in Lower Manhattan, which was surrounded by vast but unnecessary numbers of New York's finest in order to keep law-abiding MAGA patriots away, and as I watched insignificant numbers of fully funded radical left troublemakers with brand new and gleaming professionally made signs, screaming and cursing from areas said to be close to us and all others, I realized that reason, truth, and love of our country is no longer a force of good and change. These are dark days in America.
Okay, I got to show you this one. And then he posts this bizarre ad. Do you remember those, what was it, ShamWow, or those infomercials where it would be like, and if you order right now, we're going to give you 3 for the price of 1. But those are his like campaign ads, I guess, that he's posting. You got to swamp them. And we're going to, here, just watch. He posted this. This is what he posted, all of these videos. And by the way, about a dozen more that I'm not going to show you because I want to show you what President Biden's been doing and talking about. But Trump posted this. Here, play this clip.
We must swamp the radical Democrats with massive turnout.
We want to save America. Register, get an absentee or mail-in ballot, vote early.
The way you win is to swamp them.
And then he goes and talks about the speech that he gave in the Bronx. And he goes, I spoke in front of 25,000 people in the Bronx. No, you didn't. Everything he says is a lie. There was maybe 1,500 people, certainly less than 3,000 people there. That's the speech where he called up onto the stage Chef G and someone named Sleepy Hollow, I think are their names, who have been criminally indicted, and it was alleged in the criminal indictment, 140 count indictment, that they are leaders of the Crips gang and that they murdered somebody, and there were at least a dozen attempted murders that they were engaged in as they ran a crime ring terrorizing people in New York, and you brought them on stage and you talked about their grills and their teeth and that you want to grill because this is how you think you're appealing to black voters because you're just completely racist and ridiculous. Here, this is Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump talking about the Bronx speech. Play this clip.
Thank you to the great people of the Bronx for coming out and showing your support. It's a special place. I always said the Bronx is special. I know it well. Our rally was historic with over 25,000 people in Crotona Park.
And by the way, just so you see him talking about the grill that Chef G and Sleepy Hollow were wearing, here, play this clip.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's where I like those teeth. I want to find out where you did. I got to get my teeth like that.
And by the way, this is their whole approach, right? Donald Trump's approach. He sells the gold sneaker, and then he has his right-wing propaganda network Fox say, "Look, this is how Donald Trump's appealing to black voters. Black voters love sneakers, and Donald Trump's putting out a sneaker." Like, how ridiculous is that? Or Donald Trump, when he's trying to raise money from billionaires in Atlanta, Georgia, and Buckhead, he then stops at a Chick-fil-A and then has a woman who works for the Republican Party give him a hug, and he's like, "Look, media, a black lady hugged me at a Chick-fil-A. Everybody take a look at this." By the way, that's the photo of this. Here's what Fox was saying a few months back about Donald Trump selling these gold sneakers. Here, play this clip.
Black America, because they love sneakers. They're into sneakers. They love this is a big deal, certainly in the inner city. So when you have Trump roll out his sneaker line, they're like, wait a minute, this is cool. He's reaching them on a level that defies and is above politics. The culture always trumps politics. And Trump understands culture like no politician I've ever seen.
Question for you on that point, though.
Yeah.
Will the people that are excited about the sneakers and excited about Donald Trump, will that translate into them going out and voting for Donald Trump?
Well, anybody willing to put $400 down for a pair of sneakers? Yeah, I think that's commitment and love. It's something. You're right. It's something. It's affection.
I mean, seriously, this is where we're at right now. Let me just show you some. We get back to the land of normalcy, please. Here, President Biden posts, "Happy birthday to the love of my life, the life of my love, and the rock of our family, at Dr. Biden. I love you, Jilly." President Biden posts, "When I think of climate, I think of jobs. The investments we're making in our nation's clean energy market are providing Americans with good-paying jobs in their hometowns." Normal stuff, right? Like, isn't that what politics is supposed to be about? President Biden writes, "Our goal at the border is to deliver decisions on asylum as quickly as possible. Quicker decisions means that a migrant is less likely to pay a criminal smuggler thousands of dollars to take them on a dangerous journey here." President Biden writes, "One critical step we've taken that has made a huge difference is that we've chosen to work with Mexico as an equal partner, as friends and neighbors, instead of attacking Mexico. And the facts are clear. Due to the agreements that I've reached with President Obrador, the number of migrants coming to our shared border unlawfully in recent months has dropped dramatically." And President Biden gave a speech on Tuesday about the border, saying, I would have loved for this to be a bipartisan deal, but Republicans in Congress refused to agree to the Republican-led immigration deal led by the very right-wing Republican senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford, because Donald Trump told them to walk away from it because Donald Trump wants to run on chaos at the border as an issue for him. Here's what President Biden had to say.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do. Take the necessary steps to secure our border. 4 months ago, after weeks of intense negotiation between my staff and Democrats and Republicans, we came to a clear bipartisan deal. It was the strongest border security agreement in decades. But then, Republicans in Congress, not all, but walked away from it. Why? Because Donald Trump told them to. He told the Republicans, it has been published widely by many of you, that he didn't want to fix the issue. He wanted to use it to attack me. That's what he wanted to do. It was a cynical and an extremely cynical political move, and a complete disservice to the American people who are looking for us to not to weaponize the border, but to fix it.
Here's another video of President Biden from that press conference. And again, I just want to show this to you because this is just normal political discourse. This is what leadership is. Play this clip.
Today, I'm joined by a bipartisan group of governors, members of Congress, mayors, law enforcement officials, most of whom live and work along the southern border. They know the border is not a political issue to be weaponized. The responsibility we have to share to do something about it. They don't have time for the games played in Washington, and neither do the American people. So today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border. Frankly, I would have preferred to address this issue through a bipartisan legislation because that's the only way to actually get the kind of system we have now that's broken, fixed, to hire more Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more judges. But Republicans have left me no choice.
And one of the things that President Biden did in an executive order was he rolled out a migration order that aims to shut down asylum requests at the U.S.-Mexico border if illegal crossings average $2,500 per day. President Biden then gave a fact sheet and said, I would have preferred for our issues at the border to be addressed through bipartisan legislation because that's the only way to fix this broken system, but Republicans in Congress have left no choice. Like that, our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski posted this response to Anthony Scaramucci, friend of the show, friend of the pod, friend of Midas. He used to work, of course, for Donald Trump as Trump's press secretary for one, Scaramucci. And Anthony Scaramucci says this, why is Trump closing his outreach offices if he has raised so much money? And as our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski says, so he raised over $200 million to fight election fraud in 2020 to 2021. What happened to that money? He never even paid Rudy Giuliani. He raised over $100 million to help GOP candidates in the midterms and spent 5% of it helping candidates. So what happened to the rest? Where is it all going? Not without irony that our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski then posted Donald Trump saying, if I wasn't stuck in court, I'd be campaigning. Well, here's what Donald Trump's done since the trial was over. Golf, Friday golf, Saturday golf, Sunday golf, Monday golf, Tuesday golf. Oh, and then you have MAGA Mike Johnson posting this. So pathetic. The left will do anything in their power to win in November, even if it means throwing their top political opponent in prison. We the people will not forget. No, we the people will not forget what you have tried to do to our democracy. We the people stand for law and order. We the people recognize Don the Con and the MAGA Republican lawlessness when we see it. We the people recognize people like you who hold the Bible and then end up supporting Donald Trump's criminality and making hush money payments to porn stars and falsifying business records and stealing our nuclear codes and national defense information, leading insurrections. We, the people, will not forget when you and your MAGA Republican colleagues use spies from China and spies from Russia to try to overthrow our democracy. We, the people, know when it's you who are destroying bipartisan deals. We, the people, are aware of what's going on. We are aware of the hustle. We know what you are all doing.
It is Wednesday, the 5th of June of 2024, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner, the English Bulldog, is our snoozing sous chef. Precious, the little Yorkie, is our door girl, and she will be seating you directly for our especially special daily special Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. Will no one rid us of these meddlesome priests? No one. Speaking of which, MAGA Mike, or is he Moses Mike? We might as well just call him MAGA Moses Mike. He seems to be on a tear. Wow. You'd almost think that these materialist Christians are so transactional, they will flirt with hypocrisy to get what they want. Huh. Who knew? Yeah, speaking of which, in terms of religious extremists, one of the guys at Eileen Cannon's gonna allow an amicus brief to be presented in oral arguments in her court is paid for a chair at this, I don't know, learning institution that's funded by Leonard Leo, the Federalist Society, Opus Dei, Christian nationalist. Mm-hmm. What else is Leonard Leo? Some might say that he is merely the bag man. And somebody's been giving him money, and it's more than just Harlan Crow, the Petersons, the usual suspects, even the Kochs. We sometimes say the Koch brothers, but one of the brothers is dead. So now we say the Kochs. Ah, boy. So they've been working for decades. Since we were in college. Before! Boy, all of the same people that got their asses kicked at Watergate. Roger Stone, Manafort. Lee Atwater's dead. He confessed on his deathbed that what he did was a bad thing, though. Really? Okay. You're still going to hell, Lee! And he's there, too. I should reprise the Lee Atwater in Hell promo stinger that we do. Haven't done that for a while, but we will. Anyway, all of those bad actors have worked so hard all this time to reverse the terrible crime committed against Richard Nixon. And now they got Donald Trump. Jeez. I'm telling you. If you're looking for a group of people to, judge people's character, I would stay away from the GOP. I really would. It doesn't seem like their judge of character is very evolved. Nope. Anyway, we've known this for a long time, and at least, while we're waiting to get lined up at the rock pile, we can turn to each other and say, I told you so. At least we have that. Something to hold on to. You gotta be happy when things are really bad. You gotta be able to dance and have mirth. Yeah, at least we have that. Okay, does that sound like the behavior and voice of a defeated person? Might be. once you reconcile to the inevitable, what are you going to do? I'm hoping I can joke in the face of it. Probably not. I'll be whining with the rest of us. I know. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I've got a family. Yeah, we don't care. They never care. They'll let women collapse and have internal bleeding, and their husbands have to pick them up, their cold, limp body, and carry it back to the ER that they've been going to for the last several days, and they keep saying, oh, well, we'd really like to help your wife, but we're just not really sure of the legal ramifications of us helping your wife because she has problems down there. When a woman has problems down there, it's out of our hands. It's the state's call now. They know better. The state. Like a bunch of meddlesome priests. That's where we are. Okay, well, we wanted a separation of church and state, and they said no. That's not what the founders really wanted. Really? Yeah. Okay. They are really figuring that enough of us are just going to, by attrition, just kind of like leave the scene. So people who have institutional memories of what really happened will be gone. And then they can just make it up. Oh, yeah, James Madison said, I don't know, lock him up. James Madison said, lock him up. Yeah, Hamilton said, no more immigrants from Haiti. Because he came from Haiti. Yeah, they'll make it up. They will. Anyway, we have a lot going on here in this salon that we call West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy as we begin in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Once again, I'll have to remind folks that since this is America, if we were in Europe, we would have the salad at the end. All right? And this is sort of like what we do in America. We like our salad at the beginning, though I got to tell you, I usually have it at the end. But the amuse-bouche usually comes at the beginning, and we put it at the end here because the amuse-bouche is really sort of signify our travels from the Bistro Cafe into the Speakeasy of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy part. And so in between is the chef's table. So we sit there and have a few morsels before we make our way down to imbibe in the French 77 and listen to French music while the world is blowing up around us because the Nazis are goose-stepping through the Arc de Triomphe. Okay. Right around the Olympics, too. Oh, God. Well, what do we have in store for you? At the top, we went through Trump's unhinged posting spree of bizarre and unhinged videos. I like to put unhinged twice. I'll have to clean that up. Anyway, we went through that, and they went through it rather admirably, juxtaposed against Joe Biden's actions. On the rest of the menu, excuse me, a man who attacked a Muslim state representative outside a prayer service in Connecticut was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Good. Big GOP funders are sending millions into Missouri's Attorney General primary because they don't like the GOP Attorney General that is there now. What a wacko. And South Carolina is trading its all-male Supreme Court for an all-white male Supreme Court. After the break, we move to the chef's table where several London hospitals had to cancel operations and send patients away because of a cyber attack on a company that supplies pathology laboratory services. Could be the Russians. Could be the Iranians. Could be China. Or it could be all three. Could be. And Interpol and the FBI have broken up a cyber scheme in Moldova to get asylum for wanted criminals. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. At netrootsradio.com. To the right of the page is the chat room link monitored by Kelly Lincoln, who will be attending Netroots Nation along with Ricky in about 38 days? 37 days from now. So we will be looking forward to their dispatches from Baltimore, and we'll keep you informed as those dates approach. If you would now look across to the left from that chat room link that's near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, you'll see the link to our Patreon page. If you could afford to send us what you might spend on an espresso-type coffee drink, well, once a month, buy us an espresso-type coffee drink once a month. If you sent those funds to us once a month, we'll be able to pool those with like-minded folks, and that puts a big dent in the bills and sundry costs of running this powerhouse of resistance that has been resisting for, over 12 years now. Yikes. Anyway, we're here for the long haul, and you know why? Rust never sleeps. Okay, we got to keep rubbing it out. And we're here, and we're here because of your generosity. And so thank you for sticking with us. We're trying to do it, not just here at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, of course, but Netroots Radio. Your donations keep this powerhouse of resistance, resisting as the founders originally intended so many, many years ago. They did. If you would like to follow Netroots Radio on social media, you can do so by, pretty much going to Netroots Radio. Tom takes care of those and a hell of a lot more. Thank you, Tom. He's going to be updating our homepage too, so look forward to that because there's some updates that need to be done. But thank you, Tom, for everything. Follow me also on social medias at Justice Putnam in most cases. And otherwise, it's only Justice Putnam. Anyway, I post the show notes and links diaries on Daily Co's 10 minutes before showtime, and you can find those diaries if you follow my social media apps or whatever they're called. Yeah, places, because the links to the diaries on Daily Co's are right there. And that way you'll have quick access to the actual reporters and their reportage. That's key to, a successful democracy does that. They do. So do it. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Cookbook West, and please, most importantly, pick up podcasts by way of Spreaker, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, Audible, wherever podcasts can be found. Alrighty, this first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy is by the hard-working staff at the Associated Press. A Muslim man who attacked a Muslim state representative outside a prayer service in Connecticut was sentenced to 5 years in prison yesterday, Tuesday, for attempted sexual assault and other crimes, a punishment the lawmaker previously said was too lenient. Andre Desmond, age 31, was sentenced in Hartford Superior Court in connection with the June 2023 assault on Representative Mariam Khan, the first Muslim to serve in the State House of Representatives. Desmond pleaded guilty in April to attempted third-degree sexual assault, attempted first-degree strangulation, and risk of energy to a minor, and those are all felonies. After the prison time, Desmond must serve parole, register as a sex offender, and receive mental health treatment. Desmond's public defender said in court that Desmond regretted his actions and has struggled with mental illness, including schizophrenia. Desmond said that the events were out of my control. I did not have any self-control. Khan, a Democrat from the Hartford suburb of Windsor, said in a statement that the assault highlighted serious gaps in our mental health care system and victim safety and protection. Court records show Desmond, who was living in New Britain, has a history of mental illness. After a court-ordered evaluation, he was found competent to stand trial. Khan had called for hate crime charges. She was attacked after attending a service at the XL Center Arena in Hartford with her family to mark Eid, the end of the Hajj, the annual pilgrimage by Muslims to Mecca. She said she and her family, including her 15-year-old daughter, were taking photos outside the arena when Desmond approached and said he intended to have sexual relations with one of them. Desmond then followed them inside, and Khan said he started to pursue her in particular, grabbing at her face and shirt and demanding a kiss. He followed her back outside and tried to grab her face again, she said, and became angry when she dodged him. She said he then slapped her across the face and later put her in a chokehold, holding up his hands and mimicking having a gun before slamming her into the ground. Khan was diagnosed with a concussion and injured her right arm and shoulder. Desmond was chased down and held by two bystanders until police arrived and arrested him. A military veteran, one of the bystanders that helped, was charged with misdemeanor assault, but he was approved for a pretrial diversion program that will erase that charge. Well, that's magnanimous of them. Mulvihill of the Associated Press brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. Missouri's Attorney General has sued Planned Parenthood and President Joe Biden, tried to force clinics that provide gender-affirming care to hand over their records, and pushed a liberal prosecutor to resign. Despite those decidedly conservative moves, some prominent conservative groups from outside Missouri are spending millions ahead of the August 6th primary to boost Andrew Bailey's opponent, William Scharf, a member of Trump's legal team. In the GOP-dominated state, the primary winner has a huge advantage in November's general election. The tumult demonstrates how important state attorneys general have become as they've taken on increasingly nationalized roles, in addition to using the positions as springboards to run for governor or U.S. Senate. Both senators representing Missouri previously served as AG. State attorneys general are lawyers who represent the state government. AGs are appointed in some states but elected in 43. Some of their states' top criminal prosecutors, all of them have major consumer affairs roles. They've long crossed party lines to protect consumers, such as with joint lawsuits against the opioid industry and tech companies. That was when our vice president was an AG. Remember those days? AGs have become far more partisan in the past decade, however, with many, like Bailey or Paxton in Texas, suing the federal administration over policies when the president is of the opposing party. For instance, nearly every Republican AG has filed a lawsuit objecting to the Biden administration's regulations mandating that transgender students be protected under a gender equality law. A group of Democratic AGs have begun legal filings in support of the regulations. See, they're just the same, both of them. Okay. The political operation around the state AGs has gotten stronger, too. The Republican Attorneys General Association, which is dedicated to electing Republican AGs, became its own entity in 2014 after splitting off from a group devoted to electing GOP lawmakers and other state officials. 2 years later, the Democratic Attorneys General Association moved from Colorado to Washington, D.C. and added full-time staff. Oh, they're just the same. Now, the groups pour money into the most competitive races, often in the form of independent expenditures that pay for attack ads. Jeffrey Collins of the Associated Press brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe part of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. South Carolina is about to trade its all-male state Supreme Court for an all-white one. The General Assembly, which picks almost all state judges, is expected today to elevate Court of Appeals Judge Letitia Verdon to the High Court. The white woman will take the seat of Chief Justice Don Beatty, who has reached the mandatory retirement age of 72. Beatty is black. Verdon is the only candidate left after two others dropped out when they realized they could not get enough votes in the 170-seat legislature. One candidate was a black woman and the other was a white man. She will be an excellent Supreme Court justice. I am glad we now have that diversity present, said Senator Tamika Isaac Devine, an African-American Democrat who was a law school classmate of Verdon. But we shouldn't trade diversity. We need to take a look across the court system. Over the past 17 years, and all but 7 years since 1984, South Carolina has had a black judge on its highest court. Either a woman or a black man has been Chief Justice for all but one of the past 30 years. Ernest Finney became the state's first African-American circuit judge since Reconstruction in 1976. 8 years later, civil rights leaders hailed his ascension to the state Supreme Court. It showed black people have a presence at every level of the state court system, even if sometimes Finney was invited to speak in his role as a justice at private clubs that refused to admit African Americans. A number of black lawyers followed Finney's path. They too have been reaching retirement age. Just 13% of the judges in the trial and appellate courts are black in a state where 27% of the population is black. Just one judge of color, a black man, is on the 9-judge State Court of Appeals, which is often the training ground for the state Supreme Court. Well, that brings us to our break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we've curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. This week, Q&A, bait and switch. So Anya Taylor-Joy is interesting casting for the title character of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. She has a lightness to her, even without having starved herself. So different from Charlize Theron, who originated the character in Mad Max Fury Road. It's the difference between, oh awesome, it's Anya Taylor-Joy, and holy crap, that's Charlize Theron. So I wondered why Taylor-Joy for this post-apocalyptic mayhem? And also, why do we keep making these movies? I already know that every time I turn on my car, I'm driving our great-grandparents' nails further into our grandkids' coffins. And then I thought, you know how director George Miller and his writing partner Nick Nothouris gave us a bait and switch with Mad Max Fury Road, which you should certainly watch before seeing this film. Here's Tom Hardy, and we think we're going to get another Mad Max throwdown, but then Fury Road turns out to be all about Theron and Furiosa liberating Immortan Joe's harem of wives, a film that spoke directly to our times, and as proof, all the misogynist bro boys were all up at arms yelling, bleep this PC Me Too bull bleep, get these bleeps out of our car and truck testosterone desert death orgy. Well, in the same way, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is not a Furiosa origin story, even though she and it are both there. What Miller and crew have really made is an epic war movie. Sadly, again, a film for our time. And the actual lead is the latest new character to steal Miller's show, Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. And you don't need the gravitas of a Theron Furiosa getting in the way of that, especially as the brilliance of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and saga is the right word, is that this whole carnival of carnage comes down to one still scene at the end, which is mostly a Hemsworth speech, where I think Miller and Nothouris answer why we keep ending up here. See it. They're not feel-good answers, but it doesn't mean they're wrong. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. Catch up with us at TakeTwoMovieReview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
This program is presented by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Good eating habits developed in childhood can last a lifetime, but getting children to eat their fruits and vegetables is a common problem. Eating them adds important nutrients, helps control weight, and reduces the risks for many serious illnesses. Children in the U.S. are eating more fruit. However, 60% of children get fewer fruits than recommended, and 93% don't get enough vegetables. Childcare, schools, and school districts can help change this by meeting or exceeding federal nutrition standards for meals and snacks, including fruits and vegetables wherever food is offered, and helping children learn about and taste fruits and vegetables. At home, parents can eat a variety of fruits and vegetables with their children and provide them as snacks, even if it takes many tries. Also, parents can include their children when shopping for, growing, and preparing fruits and vegetables. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
For the most accurate health information, visit www.cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO. This program is presented by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
For older adults, optimal aging includes preventing injuries, effectively managing existing chronic conditions, and maintaining physical and cognitive health and social engagement. I'm Dr. Linda Anderson, Director of CDC's Healthy Aging Program. The promotion of cognitive health is a critical component of overall good health. Cognitive health among older adults is not just the absence of disease. It's the development and preservation of cognitive abilities such as memory, language, judgment, and remembered skills such as driving. Cognitive abilities enable individuals to maintain social connectedness, an ongoing sense of purpose, and the ability to function independently. In 2013, CDC and the Alzheimer's Association released the second in a series of roadmaps. This roadmap, the Public Health Roadmap for State and National Partnerships 2013 to 2018, was developed as part of CDC's Healthy Brain Initiative. It reflects the insights and expertise of a wide range of stakeholders at the national, state, and community levels. The roadmap shares the Healthy Brain Initiative's vision of cognitive health as a vital component of overall health and well-being, an area ripe for public health efforts. Specific actions are addressed in 4 traditional domains of public health. The first is monitor and evaluate. Tracking the health of the nation is a fundamental public health function. Actions in this area include assessments related to cognitive health that help quantify and qualify the public health impact and inform public health policies and strategies. The second domain is educate and empower the nation, which focuses on actions that raise public awareness and improve access to information and resources. The third domain, develop policy and mobilize partnerships, includes actions aimed at ensuring that cognitive health is integrated into a broad spectrum of public health work. The fourth area, assure a competent workforce, focuses on preparing public health professionals to translate current and emerging findings on cognitive health into effective public health practice. This roadmap provides a solid foundation for the public health community to anticipate and respond as new scientific discoveries related to cognitive health emerge. Public health agencies and partners are encouraged to work together on actions that best fit their mission, needs, interests, and capabilities. For more information, please visit cdc.gov/aging/healthybrain.
For the most accurate health information, visit www.cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO.
Hi, I'm Tom Hartman, and since you're listening to netrootsradio.com, show your progressive side and go to the donate button on the bottom of the homepage. It's progressives like you who power Netroots Radio and keep the progressive message beaming everywhere 24 hours a day. Just go to our donate button at the bottom of netrootsradio.com. Thank you for keeping progressive radio at full power.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Is the U.S. Supreme Court aiming to take yet another chop at the 1965 Voting Rights Act? An Arkansas redistricting case has been sent back to a lower court after last week's new rules making it harder to prove racial gerrymandering. In another case, the Federal 8th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in November 2023 that individual voters could not bring a private right of action for voting rights cases. Instead, such cases could only be brought by the U.S. Justice Department. A request to rehear the case was denied in January. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court has ordered the redistricting case to be reheard by a 3-judge district court panel to apply new standards handed down in Alexander versus South Carolina NAACP. Under the new SCOTUS rules, the plaintiffs will have to prove that the splitting of the 2nd Congressional District was done for racial, not political reasons, and provide an alternate map which provides an acceptable balance. In addition, the Arkansas voters will need to argue they indeed have a private right of action to bring the case. Suspicious minds may argue that the U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority is playing chess, expecting to see the case on appeal where the right of private action can be stripped from precedent and Voting Rights Act protections. Find more on the case and the groups taking action at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal. Share our reports on Facebook at American Democracy Minute.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1998. That was the day GM workers in Flint, Michigan walked off the job. 9,200 workers with UAW locals 659 and 651 had shut down a company which at the time accounted for 1% of the country's economic output. Production at GM plants throughout the U.S., Canada, and Mexico all came to a screeching halt. Many noted that what began as a localized walkout became the most significant strike against GM since 1970. Management had moved dies out of the metal center and shipped them to operations in Canada. In an act of international solidarity, brothers and sisters in the CAW refused to handle the dies. The 7-week strike was solid against a Wall Street attack on one of the last closed shops in the country. The strike was also popular with auto workers elsewhere, who confronted assembly line speed-up, mandatory overtime, and the constant fear of plant closures. It inspired GM workers in Indiana, Ohio, and California to also go on strike. Even workers at the Tennessee-based Saturn plant, touted as a model of labor management relations, voted to strike in response to threatened outsourcing. But the strike essentially ended in a standoff. The union had stopped GM from closing plants in Flint and Dayton, Ohio, at least for a while, and GM agreed to invest millions in modernizing the Flint facilities. But weeks after the strike ended, GM bosses avowed more union-busting attacks. They declared a two-pronged strategy. First, they intended to spin off the Delphi Parts Division as an independent operation. Then, GM announced they planned to close existing U.S. plants in favor of new facilities that assembled pre-made parts fabricated at non-union suppliers. The war against the UAW had begun. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. We always begin, whether from around the world, along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently, well, it looks like it's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit under fair conditions. A mix of clouds and sun throughout the day with highs around 90. Winds out of the north-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Clear skies overnight with lows in the mid to upper 50s. Winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10. Then sunny skies tomorrow with highs in the low to mid 90s. Winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Grass pollen is rated very high here in Rogue River proper. The air quality index for the region is in the good range at 13 parts per million, and that daytime UV index is very high at level 9. Barometric pressure is falling at 30.1 inches. Visibility is up to 10 miles, and relative humidity is at 84%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world, and that is the Weather Underground. London is 61 degrees and cloudy. Paris is 70 degrees and mostly cloudy. Rome is 80 degrees and sunny. Kabul is 65 and partly cloudy. Hong Kong is 74 and partly cloudy. Tokyo is 68 and partly cloudy. Melbourne, Victoria, Australia is 51 degrees and mostly cloudy. San Francisco, California is 65 and sunny with a beach hazard warning, meaning there could be, well, there is high surf, a lot of wind, and also maybe heavy objects like driftwood, so take care. Chicago, Illinois is 70 degrees and cloudy, and New York is 74 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. Ever-present and hard-working staff at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche. Here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Smothered Benedict Wednesdays. Several London hospitals said yesterday, Tuesday, they had to cancel operations and send patients away because of a cyber attack on a company that supplies pathology laboratory services. The firm, Synovus, said it had been hit with a ransomware attack. Chief Executive Mark Dollar said the attack has affected all Synovus IT systems, resulting in interruptions to many of our pathology services. It is still early, and we are trying to understand exactly what has happened, he said. The National Health Service said there had been a significant impact at King's College and Guy's and St. Thomas's Hospital Trusts, which between them run several South London hospitals, as well as to clinics and doctors' practices across a swath of the city. A memo to staff said the critical incident had a major impact on the delivery of services, with blood transfusions particularly affected. An NHS England London region said in a statement that it was working urgently to fully understand the impact of the incident, with the support of the government's National Cybersecurity Center and our cyber operations team. Oliver Dawson, age 70, was prepared for an operation from 6 a.m. on Monday at the Royal Brompton Hospital, but was told by a surgeon at about 12:30 p.m. that it would not happen. The staff on the ward said they didn't seem to know what had happened, just that many patients were being told to go home and wait for a new date. I've been given a date for next Tuesday, and I am crossing my fingers. Ransomware attacks involve criminals paralyzing computer systems with malware, then demanding money to release them. Ransomware is the costliest and most disruptive form of cybercrime, crippling local governments, court systems, hospitals, and schools, as well as businesses. It is difficult to combat, as most gangs are best based in former Soviet states and out of reach of Western justice. Thomas Adamson and Stephen McGrath at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. A multinational operation by Interpol and the FBI cracked down on attempts in Moldova to sabotage one of the international police agency's key tools, the Red Notice system. 4 people were detained in the Eastern European country. The joint sting, which also involved cooperation with French and British authorities, uncovered an international criminal organization with ties to individuals in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus suspected of cybercrime, Moldova's anti-corruption chief said. The suspected individuals paid intermediaries and public figures in Moldova To inform wanted criminals of their red notice status, Veronica Dragolin, the anti-corruption chief, told the reporter. The notice flags people deemed fugitives to law enforcement worldwide and is one of Interpol's most important tools. The investigation led to the detention of 4 people for 72 hours on suspicion of interfering with the notices. The scheme sought to have people subject to red notices obtain asylum or refugee status in Moldova and other countries, with the aim of blocking and deleting the notices by bribing public officials, she added. The sums of money involved, she said, amount to several $1 million. Interpol said the operation by the International Polling Agency, headquartered in Lyon, France, followed the detection of attempts to block and delete the notices which flag people deemed fugitives to law enforcement worldwide. Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day, but you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we will meet up here tomorrow for Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays, so do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day and all night for all the breaking news as it breaks, and we will meet up here tomorrow, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. À fleurs sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair. T'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum.